Hey guys, Wages Road here, guys. I've been waiting on this solar storm to hit, and it looks like it might be hitting now. So we're going to go ahead and do this. We've had another X flare also, and we'll go over that real quick. But yeah, could you guys give me a 5 for 5 as I get going here? Thank you, Jamer, for sharing that out to everywhere. It's very important on something like this one because it's an odd hour for me to be here. I'm not usually here at this time. But anyway, guys, this right here, um, this is the Endless Spiral. This is a CME tracker over at NOAA. Okay, this is the one NOAA uses. It's the same model as NASA uses. It's just they take different things into perspective. But as you can see here, here's that initial X flare from yesterday that produced this CME. See how it kind of split right there? Um, we've seen that happen before. It's just a matter of where the solar wind is, and sometimes it'll get caught up in that solar wind, and the magnetics inside the solar wind will pull it one direction or the other. And in this instance, it's almost like it split the CME in half. But you can definitely see how they're forecasting a side or a glancing blow here at Earth. Okay, that's what that is. So, and we'll go over that again here in just a second. But we've had another X flare. This hasn't updated for that yet. You can see that right here. Check this out. This one here is actually, it's not as, as far as X-ray, it wasn't quite as powerful, but this one here is more concerning in the instance. I don't like to use the word concerning because I'm not concerned because this isn't grid down. Okay? But what we're seeing here is that's a longer duration. See how this went up and then kind of swooped down? This went up to here, kind of hung out, and then up again into X-class range for at least 2 hours there. Almost 3 it looks like. So, and then it's tailed off. It's tailing off now. It's still flaring as I'm talking to you. It's going to be probably about the same duration as this, and there's a couple reasons for that. It's coming from the same sunspot, so it would make sense. Logic would tell you, hey, if it's coming from that area, most likely it's going to act very similar. But something that wasn't happening yesterday that's happening right now is this. This is the radiation storm. We measure that by protons, how many protons we got. And as you can see here, it's moving up now. It's not like a sharp increase into storm level. So probably what's happening here, all this stuff is starting to arrive from this first one. And then this one blasted off. And I did see a second eruption in the quote-unquote danger zone, which you guys know I hate using that term. And I'll show you that here on SDO. But this is SDO, guys. This is the satellite I'm going to be showing you these first images from. This satellite's in geosynchronistic orbit, and it's always relaying its data back down to white sands. So in order to be able to do that at all times, the best way to accomplish that is to have it just hanging over white sands all the time. How do they do that? Well, they have it orbit our planet at the same time as we rotate, at the same speed, 15 degrees an hour. But because if it was just like stuck up there, like right there, we would miss some stuff, right? It wouldn't be looking at the sun when it's on the dark side of the planet. So it has to rotate as it's orbiting to keep its eye on the sun. This yellow line is the eye. Okay? Now you can see here, these are other views, just different perspectives from the same satellite, if you need a better understanding of what's going on here. So, yeah. Now, remember, orbital mechanics work different than what most people think. Okay? These satellites are in a continuous state of falling. And I know that's kind of hard for some people to kind of grasp hold of and understand. But they use that to keep it where it's at. It's much like a slingshot maneuver that, I always go back to the Armageddon reference, where he said the Roadrunner thrust maneuver. If you guys ever remember that, I think it was Billy Bob Thornton that said that when they were talking to the NASA guys in that movie. I remember this. This is the Roadrunner thrust maneuver we're sitting on the Acme And the Acme company made, how did he put that? How do you guys feel about sitting on a rocket that was built by the lowest bidder, right? It doesn't give you a whole lot of comfort when you talk about it like that, but that was just for comedic relief during that movie. But the little slingshot thing that they're talking about is a real thing. So as these satellites and orbital mechanics are working, as they're falling back into the planet, they use that momentum to keep it where it's at. So it's much like, I guess you could almost say it's kind of like a yo-yo. Anybody that was a kid, you remember the old the butterfly yo-yos, where if you can drop it and they can hit the ground, you can roll it and walk the dog and do all the tricks and stuff with it. But there's always some momentum left if you just give it a little bit of yank back towards your hand. It'll climb right back up that string and hit you right in the hand, right? That's kind of what's going on. It's not exactly the same, but gives you kind of an idea there. But this is always orbiting just like this in this figure 8 pattern. And it does this, the main reason is so it can get its data back in almost real time. Okay? But because of this, we do get an eclipse season. And it's twice a year. It's a little over a week long, I believe. The Earth will pass between the satellite and the sun. That simple. Okay? Hey, Stephanie, good to see you, girl. Vicky, Internet Mama. Scrappy, what's happening? Oh. Energy and Ingeria. Hey, good to see you. That's an interesting name. I don't know that I've ever, pointed out that account. Hey, Enlightened, what's going on? You're a member, so, I mean, I'm sorry if maybe you've changed your name. I'm not sure. Hey, Arnold, good to see you, bud. Hey, Daniel, what's happening? Good morning. Kim Possible's in here. Ain't seen you in a minute, girl. Good to see you. But yeah, guys, please share this one out as I get going here. I'm gonna, I trust my moderators and everything, and that's why I just kind of push it off to the side. But hey, listen, I'm gonna announce something right now too. I'm gonna be doing a members only stream tonight or today at some point. Not exactly sure when. I'm debating on what time to do it. Axe from Axe and Nacho. I talk about them a lot, guys. They're one of my favorite Canucks. Awesome music, awesome people, just really good people. They're part of our community. A lot of you guys already know who they are. But I'm going to have Axe on tonight during the live stream right around, we're going to shoot between 9 and 10 o'clock Eastern. So he'll be on as a guest. And we're going to be going over the space weather stuff, okay? He's just going to be here with me. And he's I'm going to try to see if he'll want to come into the members only stream too and react to some crazy chiropractic stuff and some Zoom court things, some funny things, so we can all get together and laugh. And that's the whole goal. And Axe and his wife Nacho are just awesome people. And they're funny anyway. I highly suggest you guys get up there and check out their channel anyway. I've been shouting him out a lot lately because we need a dose of positivity right now. And I'm just going to say it. That's just the truth. So, but back to the X-Flare here. Okay, the X-Flare came from this same sunspot again. Okay, but remember, we're looking from this view here. Okay, so that is the perspective. It's as if you guys walked outside and looked up. Okay, it's from our perspective. That's really all you really need to know, but I like people to understand a little bit more deep. And this is very basic when it gets to going deep here. But this is the 171 angstrom. Okay, that's the only part of the light spectrum we can see. They filter out all other light. Now they assign it a color. It's not necessarily gold or yellow, whatever you want to call this one. You can just, color is perspective anyway. There's so many substrates we have to look through to see something anyway. And when I say substrate, I'm talking about basically it's the background the color's on, right? So if you look up in the sky, you're looking up through the atmosphere, right? You guys actually think that the sky is blue? Think about that for a second. Or is the nighttime sky, is it actually black? You have to understand that. Color is by perspective, where you're standing and what you're looking through. And also the mechanics behind it as far as your biology with your own individual eyesight. I explain it to people like this. You know, you can go back to the dog analogy too. You know, a lot of people think that they see in black and white. No, they see in their own color spectrum. Okay? It's not just black and white. So I always say this, hey, grab 2 different laptops. Okay? Turn them on, put them on the same web page, and just look at both of them. You're going to see a clear difference in the color that they're producing almost every time. That's because they're set up just a touch different, right? So are we. So always remember that. Now, this is the 94 angstrom, because I beat that point home because I want you guys to understand what we're actually looking at. We're looking at a specific wavelength of light. It doesn't matter what color they give this thing. They're just trying to give us more detail, and we're looking at a specific gas on the sun. The 94 angstrom, which is this one, I'm not sure what gas it is, but it's a different gas than the 171. You see the difference here? See how the detail kind of pops out a little different here? And then even from this one to this one. And then from, that's the 131. And then to the 304, right? See how different these are? These are all the same images, just looking at a different part of the light spectrum. And it gives us a better visual understanding. So I hope people understand that. I know I go over that probably, you know, I know I go over it ad nauseum, but I feel like I do it too much sometimes. But, you know, whatever. I just want people to understand. Now, the 171, you can see the plasma flipping off from that X-flare. Okay? So I'll just grab this and we'll look at it here. See how fast that's moving too? Here's the center part of the flare itself, and then the CME happens right there. You see that? That's plasma. That's the CME part. Now that's going to take it, you know, if you were just to look at this, you would think that this thing ain't going to hit us at all, right? Just 1 angstrom. Just because of the way the plasma shot off there, right? You would think it was so centralized. This is all the plasma? Wages? What are you showing me here? Right? Why are we even talking about this? Well, because when you compare this to, you go over here to this one, it's going to look totally different when it erupts. See that? So, it's pretty dramatically different in this case. So, this is why I go over this, because I need people to understand it. Now, I'm going to back this up. We'll go to the beginning here. There's a couple things here I want to show you on the 94 anyway. But this is very similar to the same eruption it did the other day. Okay? This is a long duration flare. Notice these other sunspots are actually firing too. Okay? The sun is very unstable right now. And when I say unstable, it's just around the sunspots themselves. The sun as a whole is not unstable. I'm not saying the sun's going to like explode or anything like that, so don't misunderstand. What I'm saying is that the sunspots communicate with each other. Everything is connected magnetically here. Okay? These sunspots talk to one another. And when they get too close playing the phone game with each other, they will erupt at the exact same time. Okay? That's what's happening here. Look at that. That is a very significant eruption. Okay? Now you can see, when what you're looking at with the bright light, those are X-ray. Okay, that's the flare part. They get here in 8 minutes. Now this particular sunspot here, because we've had about a day and a half difference here, right? Well, almost 2 days now. So what I'm saying is, and the reason why I bring that up, is because when it first fired, that first one, it was over here. So the chances of it hitting us was less when it comes to the CME part. Now it's here. So anything that fires off now is going to do what? It's going to have a way better chance of giving us more than just this quote unquote glancing blow. Okay, now this model hasn't updated yet. Okay, so I'm not going to be able to show you what they think it's going to do from the second CME. The second CME is not here yet. Okay, it's not on this model yet. It's too early in the game. So, but we got time, and this is why it's not important to jump right out here and do this. Right? I've been waiting for hours. Ask Axe. Ask Jammer. He's in here. I've been waiting for the geomagnetic storm to hit because I didn't want to waste your guys' time. Right? It just so happened now we have an X-flare happen too. Another one. So anyway, as you can see that hitting right there, that's Earth. This is a top-down view and this is a side cut. So we can tell north-south orientation here, and we can see east-west here. Remember, east-west is reverse when we're talking about space. What's west on a map you look at, like on GPS, is to your right. Well, when you're looking out into space, west is actually to your left. I'm sorry. West on GPS is looking to your left, and if you look out in space, it's reverse. It's looking to your right. Okay, you got to pretend you're looking at the sun. Now that changes if you're talking about looking at other stars too. It changes sometimes. It's a weird but necessary thing, okay, in a lot of ways, and I'm not going to get into that right now. But as you can see, today they're talking about this thing hitting at any time, and it's hitting right now, at least from what I can tell in the data. But I'll show you that here in just a second. But I do want to show you guys the rest of the flaring here. Now, this is going to look like a disco ball. Typically, when we get an X-flare, guys, we don't get this flash, 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 right? We get the one big flash, right? This one's different. And significantly different. To the point where I was like, wow. I mean, I've seen it do this a couple times before, but not, I don't know. When the camera gets flooded with light, you'll see it like just, the whole thing will kind of grain out like that. You see that? That's the camera getting flooded with light. That's the initial X-flare right there. Now watch what happens. See how it went back to regular resolution there? Because it wasn't getting blasted so much with that light. And then the next image, it goes back to doing that again. And then it hung on like that too. We don't typically see it hang on for that many frames. Now look how many times it goes back to that. It's like 4 or 5 times. Right? So why is it doing that? Well, it's because it's so long duration. It's hitting that camera for an extended period of time with very bright light. And because of the way the flares are firing off the sun like that, it kind of fluctuates down and up, down and up, down and up. And when it hits that up peak, it'll flood that camera with light. And that's exactly what's happening here. Okay, see how it just goes grainy? Now, I will say the initial eruption from this flare and then the CME that follows it, the CME does look fairly significant in as far as how much plasma is getting ripped off the sun here. So watch this. Okay, there's the beginning of it. Right? Now you see this. That whole area right there, that's plasma. That's highly charged particles. Your X-rays are here, and they go out equally in all directions. Plasma does not. Plasma has a very precise thing that it does. It'll follow whatever direction the blast caused it to go. It's going to follow the path of least resistance magnetically, number one. Number two, just the initial blast, the physics of the blast itself, will send it out in a general direction. This is not a filament, okay? So it's going to act more of a cone than more of a, say, a lasso that gets snapped and it kind of goes out and flings out everywhere, right? These things get very wide. And so what I'm going to do here, I'm going to show you the 211 angstrom here in just a second. But notice that this is a filament hanging right here. You can't see it very well on the 131, but I'll show it to you on the 304 here in just a second. But watch how you start to see these particles travel. And they're traveling, you see that right there? They're traveling on a filament, a magnetic connection line. It's a rope that just kind of lays on the sun right there. Okay? And again, we'll take another look at that. But something else that happened here, guys, we had a significant canyon of fire open up here too. It peeled it back. And it's not like a canyon of fire as in the general definition of word, a canyon of fire. But yeah. Let's see here. The sun. Just like Earth, fun fact, cyclones, hurricanes can't form on the equator. Also, if a volcano goes off in the northern hemisphere, the ash doesn't mix in the south. Yeah, you know, I'd heard that before about the volcano. I love the fact that you researched that. I'm serious, Patrick. Or Patriot. I'm sorry, Australia Patriot. I'm assuming that's what that abbreviation is. I love when people research that. That's a very, very well thought right there. Very well put together thought. And yes, hurricanes will. And the reason why there's a few different things of physics that are happening there when we're talking about the direction of a hurricane, the way that it spins, the direction that it spins. It spins opposite in the northern and southern hemisphere from one another. Now you can break that down even into your just regular storm systems. Okay. So, you know, a low pressure system in the southern hemisphere will spin the exact same opposite direction as it does in the northern hemisphere. And you can see that when we look at the wind maps, right? You oftentimes get people that'll say that, hey, we shouldn't see, you know, these storms spinning this direction. Well, that's wrong, guys. They don't understand the physics when they say that at all. Because what they do is they'll show you a wind map and they won't show you whether or not it's a low pressure or a high pressure. Because they both, low pressure and a high pressure, spin opposite directions in the same hemisphere. So what I've seen happen is, and when we look at a map of the Earth, a wind map, they'll show you the direction of the wind, say it's going clockwise, and then and in the same image, they'll have a storm system right next to it spinning counterclockwise. But they leave off the L and the H, low and high. Those stand for the pressure. That matters. When you click those on, everything you see on that map, you will never ever see opposite spinning storm systems next to one another that had the same pressure orientation, low and high. If they're spinning in the same direction, they're both either low pressure or both high pressure. It's that simple. Nobody has ever been able to show me anything different than that. Because it simply just doesn't happen, guys. That is a fact. And I know that some people want to argue with that, but they've never ever been able to show me. So I've asked them, well, show me a wind map where we have two low pressure systems, or a low pressure and a high pressure system sitting right next to each other, spinning the same direction. You will never see that. So I just want to point that out. I get kind of fired up about that because it's one of those things that it's easy to show people what's actually happening, but they don't want, they will use what I call intellectual dishonesty, and that's the fact that they won't look into it unless, and the reason they won't look into it is because they know that once they look into it, they're going to prove themselves wrong. So they choose to ignore. And when you ask people that, then you start hearing crickets. Because they run. And I'm not kidding. I've offered, and I'm serious about this. If somebody can show me a real wind map from any, like GOES satellite system or windy.com, any of that, if you can show me one, just one, in the same hemisphere of a low pressure and a high pressure spinning the same direction right next to each other on the same latitude line. I've offered people a Zoom link. Come right up on my channel. I won't say a word. You can just show us. And then I'll say, wow. I wonder why that's happening. Right? That's what I would do. And I would look into it more. But that doesn't happen. Nobody can do that. So, but yeah, and you're right, Aussie Patriot. It's odd that, you know, it's cool that the sun does similar things. And the reason why, guys, a lot of it's magnetics. But when we're talking about wind here on our planet, we are literally talking about low and high pressure rushing in to fill the empty space. That's what wind is here. Okay, and it's driven by our rotation on the planet and a lot of other things. Okay, so anyway, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get off on that regular weather conversation, but it does kind of irritate me when somebody will do that, and I'll ask them to show it to me, because they'll do the little drive-by chat thing that people do, right? They'll drive by the chat, drop a comment in there, and say, well, why does this do this and do this and do this? And I'll say, well, it doesn't. And if you got something that can show me that it does, then let me see it. It's just like somebody going outside and doing this. Hey guys, it's nighttime. Go out here and look north. There's a big black void. Big, huge circle void missing in the sky. There's nothing. We can't see no light right there. What's going on? Right? But what they do after that, you know, I can bite on that initial, hey, let's go outside and look, right? First off, why do I need to go outside and look? If you're going to try to convince me of that, shouldn't you be bringing me something to see? Because I'm not questioning what's accepted science. You are. But anyway, even if I bite on that and I go outside and look, and I'll sit there and I'll look, yeah, it does kind of look like a large void right there. Everything's black. Grab a pair of binoculars. That's all you have to do. Look up in that same void and you're going to see some stars. So there's nothing there blocking the light. People think that there's something right there and there's not. Grab a telescope. Put it in that same void. You will see stars. That means there's nothing blocking your view. It's that simple to prove. But yet they don't want to bring that to you. So I'll just leave it at that. Anyway, I'm sorry guys. I did get kind of off there a little bit. Good morning. Good morning. Regurgitating 9 o'clock news. But And I tell you guys this so you guys can have a better understanding and use the same thing. If somebody can show me, please show me why I can still see stars when you're telling me I can't. Because you don't want to come show me. You don't want to go look because you think you're probably wrong. You just don't want to look into it. It's called intellectual dishonesty. It's not an outright lie, but you refuse to look at it because you're so afraid it's going to be wrong. Because you said so many times that that's what's actually happening, and it's not, and you've painted yourself into a corner, and if you admit at that point that you're wrong, then you're embarrassed, right? Well, me, when I find out I'm wrong, I don't get embarrassed. I come straight out here and tell you. It's okay to be wrong. As long as you come out and just admit it. Anyway, I'm sorry, guys. I shouldn't get off a rant like that. I apologize. It really does get me fired up, though, guys. That's one thing that'll get me going every time. Anyway, so as we're looking at this, guys, this is the 304. This is a big, you know, this is where we see the plasma the best. Okay, the CME part of eruptions. Now we also get to see the filaments that lay across the sun here. They're the dark shadows, right? When those rip off, those are pretty big CMEs. But this is the current CME. This had a very similar eruption to this one, okay? But the difference is now we're 2 days further in the rotation of the sun. So what that means is this is closer to the Earth strike zone. Now watch this canyon of fire open up right here. Watch where my cursor's at. See that? That's pretty significant. It pulled that plasma straight back. And that's what that is. They call it a canyon of fire. It's not technically a canyon of fire. It's just what it looks like visually. Okay? So, but you can see how that particular amount of plasma here, and I'll show you guys, I'll stop it right here. Okay? That is a significant amount of plasma leaving the sun. And it doesn't look like it's coming Earth's direction, but it actually kind of is. So let me show you. Okay? We come over here to the 211. We can see the atmosphere of the sun, the corona, really good in this angstrom of light. What you're going to see is this is going to erupt right here, and you're going to see it ripple all the way across the face of the sun. Okay? You see that? How it even bounced over here? Way up here? What that means is that spread wide enough that it is going to hit Earth. Okay? The whole sun in the front. This is a wide one, guys. Okay? It's not over here this time where it erupted. It's now here. And because of that, it is more directed at Earth than the previous CME. Okay? And now it does have a southerly component, but you can still see the sun kind of get disturbed up here too. So I do think that when the coronagraphs start updating, these right here on Soho, satellites right here, it's from our perspective. It's just a million miles closer to the sun than what we are. Let me go ahead and just update that one. Yeah, see, Seeds hasn't been updating very well, guys, and I'm not sure what's going on with Seeds, but anyway, this is a coronagraph that I show you guys all the time. You see where this stops? It stops about an hour before that eruption happened. So we're still waiting on data to come in. That's what that means. It's not necessary for me to show you that particular part right this second because it's not going to change anything. We still have some time to talk about that and to wait and see. OU812 Mini Lies. Alicia, hey, good to see you. Good to see you. How you doing? Okay, Naughty Kids, MJ. Okay, I don't know what y'all talking about in there, but okay. Okay. Yeah. Let's see here. Oh, you guys, see, I shouldn't even have talked about that. I hope you guys aren't in there arguing with one another. But yeah. Hey, Darren, what's up, bud? Where do you find the screen that shows... what were you asking there, Darren? I'm sorry, I kind of flipped through there. Why don't you guys give me a roll call in there if you could? Just regional. And I'll go over that as I look at this real quick. I'm trying to get back to your comment, Darren. I think I skipped over it. I'm sorry, man. I don't like missing comments, especially when it's a question. I think you got a question, Darren. I'm trying to find it. Give me 1 second here. Here it is. Where do you find the screen that shows who got hit by the x-rays? It's still dark at my house. Oh, okay. The screen that shows us where the x-rays are hitting? I think, if I'm understanding you, what you want to see is this one, right? This is the D region. They show the absorption here. And this is what we do. This is what we look at. So what I'll do is I've already updated this, but right there. Now remember, when the X-flare happens or the flare happens, the radio blackout is always going to be on the day side of the planet. So you really don't need this model to tell you that it's daytime over there. You can just pretty much whatever, wherever you're at in the world. Now, right now, this is what it looks like. So this flare is starting to calm down, but we were at R3 radio blackout for a while. And remember, guys, the planet's 70% water, so the chances of, you know, anything actually affecting us in that way is a little bit less than, you know, most of the time it's going to hit over water. And I always point that out as far as, you know, like a directed, like, X-ray hit. But just think if this was, what, 6 or 8 hours later, 10 hours later, South America and Africa, well, Africa got hit with this one anyway. This one's right over top of the Congo. You can see it. And our brothers down there in Australia. And by the way, I'm going to pronounce it right from now on. I was corrected. You know, they said most Americans missed the pronunciation of, it's not Aussie, Aussie, Aussie. It's Aussie, Aussie, Aussie. Like Ozzy from Black Sabbath. So I've been pronouncing it wrong my whole life. So I'm going to make a point to point that out and say Ozzy, Ozzy, Ozzy. Ozzy Osbourne, right? That's how you're supposed to say it. Ozzy, 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 not Aussie, Aussie, Aussie. And that's how we all say it over here, because that's really, you know, logically you can see why. I mean, because we're talking about people in Australia, but in New Zealand. But at the same time, that's not the correct way, I guess. So thank you for ever correcting me on that if you're hearing me. I'm not sure if you're here or not, but yeah. Okay, so let me update this one so we can see where we're at as far as this flare is happening. The radiation's still creeping up, guys. We're still at R1, radio blackout level. I would have bet, yep, see what's happening here? We're probably starting to get hit with the side blow of that first CME. We went to a -6 on the BZ, and that's the threshold we look at. -6 on this red line is the magnetic orientation, okay? So when that's at a -6 or more negative, we will couple with a lot of the magnetic fields inside CMEs, and it'll draw it in more. That's why we see it come in on the poles first, negative, positive. If you just understand how a magnet works, you can have a really good understanding of how space weather works. It's not the only force involved. We got to consider gravity and a whole lot of other things, direction, all of that. There's things that can overcome any kind of force, actually. You know, you got to have a certain amount of inertia to get off the sun anyway, right? So it's got to blow hard enough in order to escape the sun. They call it escape velocity. Same thing happens when we send rockets up from here. You got to get that escape velocity, or you don't make it out of the gravitational pull. So the same thing's true with the CME, and I've mentioned this before. Okay, guys, sometimes we can have a flare that doesn't produce a CME, right? So we just get a flare. Sometimes we can have a CME with no flare. Flares are measured by X-ray. CMEs are measured by the K indice, which is geomagnetic activity. That's what a CME is measured by. And when I say CME, it's actually the wrong term to use. Did you guys know that? Okay? It's a CME as soon as it erupts on the sun, right? But if it actually achieves escape velocity and leaves the sun, then it's technically an ICME, which means interplanetary coronal mass ejection. So, but we all just use CME, and that's what I'm going to continue to do so I don't confuse people. I will sprinkle that little bit of knowledge in there for you guys once in a while, just to kind of, you know, make sure that everybody knows that that's really what it is. But it's not, you know, for what we do here, it's not necessary to get all technical like to that degree. You will hear anybody that is in this community, from people like me that don't have any higher education to people like Dr. Tam at the Scove, they just blanketly call it a CME, right? And that's okay. It's not a bad thing, but technically a CME doesn't have to leave the sun, and when it doesn't, that is a true CME. It's not well, they're both CMEs, right? but one of them becomes an ICME. The other one that doesn't leave the sun stays a CME. And you can see sometimes it'll go right through the atmosphere of the sun and kind of travel, but it never leaves the surface far enough. And sometimes you'll get it, you can actually see it. I've shown it to you guys. Like here on the 304, we've seen eruptions happen, plasma make it out, well, about this far, and then we'll get plasma rain. It'll recapture it, the majority of the plasma. And that's done by magnetics and gravity. You'll see it travel right back down to the surface. I've shown it to you guys quite a bit. This one is not doing that. This one is powerful enough. Anything you get from an X flare, a CME with that, typically is going to leave the sun. The majority of it will. So, anyway, it's probably too early to be trying to get that deep into what we're talking about here. But I do find it interesting. You see these right here? These are those arcs that we talk about. Those are magnetic connection lines from one spot to the other, and you see charged particles travel across that. And that's what you see when you see the movement. Again, it's not wind like here on our planet. Now, do you guys, as I do this, watch the atmosphere of the sun all the way across. And this is why I'm showing this one to you. See it start right there? Now it's going to move from left to right. See that? That's how we can kind of confirm whether or not this is spreading out wide enough to hit us. The Earth strike zone's kind of like right here. So theoretically, if it makes it over this far, it's going to have some sort of Earth-directed component. Now, there is one thing I'm going to point out right now. There are no coronal holes on the front side of the sun right now. I mean, we got some thin spots, but these are not coronal holes. So, you know, that's something that we haven't seen for a few weeks. We've had coronal holes facing us for a while. And all that means is the corona of the sun peels back and exposes the surface. The surface is colder. That's why it shows up in a darker color like black. But, man, did I miss the sneaking... I did. I missed the roll call again, guys. I am so sorry. Let me go back here. Okay, Oregon. Stars from Oregon. Derek Shelp. Minnesota. West Tennessee. What's up? OU 812. Oh, goodness. You got me on that one. I couldn't even stop. I even knew what it meant. I just kept saying it. Oh, well. OU 812. Many lies. There you go. Alicia, you're killing me with that. Love it. Love it. Jawa. Australia. Okay. Lower Michigan. South Australia. Hooter House, Indiana. Flash as you go by. Man, Jammer, you got me saying that live on television, man, or on YouTube. What's wrong with you, man? What is wrong with you, man? What is happening? I'm going to have to read it before I say it from now on. Wow, you guys are supposed to be getting those comments out of there, not typing them. I'm just kidding, by the way. You know that. Anyway, you got me, man. I'm not even kidding. Yep, plasma loops, for sure. Steven, good to see you, by the way, bud. Yep, get your solar glasses out. Don't forget them. Okay, I'm going back to space weather. Y'all have fun in there, okay? Anyway. Okay, so this is the sun currently. Now, what's different here is we do have some spots in the northern hemisphere now. Also, this is a large area here, guys. I mean, this is, they would consider this like this one big active region with multiple sunspots. Now, I can show that to you here, too. This is Dr. Tony Phillips' page. This is his website, spaceweather.com. Here's all the numbers, individual ones. But they would consider this one big active region. So, yeah. for whatever reason, I'm drawing a blank on what they call that region. My gosh. I don't know why. I'm tired. I can tell you why. Okay. Yeah. So here's our our magnetosphere, guys. Our magnetosphere is created by space weather hitting our magnetic field. And because of the way we move through space, stuff is coming from the left to right. Okay? So we get this protection, magnetic protection, that kind of just peels around our planet like this, in this shape. Now, I'm going to pause that and watch what's going on right here on the end. Okay? Not much going on the speed, but we've seen it in the density here. Okay? Look at that. Okay, those are little small hits. Now, that could be all we're going to get from that first one. I don't know yet. Because we should be seeing effects from this glancing blow from the first flare and CME. And it doesn't look like it's going to be hitting us very hard. Also, it doesn't look like the BZ is actually correct for us to really draw it in, help pull it in. So we may not even get to storm level. Let's see here. Where are we at right now? Well, we're about at a 1.5, which isn't even close. Let's look at the HP. Now we are creeping up. Okay. This is the same indice. This is just a 30-minute average instead of a 3-hour average that we get here. Okay. So this is kind of more real time. But we did see an uptick here too. Kind of came back down, then an uptick. Because we were really low for multiple hours here. So, you know, is this the CME? Not sure. We're just going to have to wait and see. It's not going to be a huge, big deal anyway. It's going to be a glancing blow. G1 was the actual forecast. Here. Okay? So, but this one that I'm showing you now has a lot better chance, guys. Okay, so don't let your guards down here. We're not going to get all crazy and start claiming certain things, but we're also not going to be ignoring anything either. Okay, I'll be really interested to see once this coronagraph updates. I wonder if they're showing this over here on ISWA. I didn't check that yet. Let me do that real quick, guys. Hang right here with me, okay? Oh, before we do that, though, I wanted to show you this. I recorded this yesterday because I've never seen our magnetosphere do this. I'm not saying that it shouldn't do this. I'm just saying I've never personally seen it. It's not even going to let me do it. Look at this. Well, it might. That's better. That's close enough. I'm going to push play. Watch right here. Actually, I'm just going to pause it and grab this. And I'll show you what I'm talking about here in a minute. First off, just the overall signature that I'm seeing is just odd. Okay? See how it peels back right in there and in here too? And we'll zoom in here a little bit. And it's actually pointed like here. It's crazy. I've never seen it do this. Okay, you guys see that point? Seriously, I've watched this tool for a number of years, and I've never seen it do that. Obviously, I've seen it do something similar to that. That's us getting hit. Okay, that's nothing odd there. It's just, now look at that thing point again. Look at this. I have never seen it do that. It's just really strange. Now, it's probably just a visual thing for the model. So don't think it's just something that is, oh my God, you know, run for the hills. Wages is seeing something he's never seen before. Well, if I had a dime for every time I could say that, I tell you, I'd feed us all for a week. Anyway, but you can see that, right? I mean, it's not too crazy, but I just thought it was just so odd looking. And I can't figure out for the life of me why it would do that. But I don't know. Whoever's smarter than me will figure it out. And again, guys, it's probably not that big of a deal. And I'm sorry if you're looking at that on your phone. That was probably pretty hard to see. I couldn't zoom in any further. Yep, I agree, Stephanie. ISWA? Yeah, I was looking over at ISWA. I was looking over there for this one here. I was hoping this thing would update, and it hasn't. Well, maybe it did. That's interesting. Why are we... Okay, hold on a minute. Let's let this thing run. Let's see if it'll show us any images. That's just not making any sense. It's really not. I'm wondering if there ain't something going on with the satellite a little bit here. Because it's almost like they've got these images flipped, but they might not. Well, okay, yeah, it's missing some imaging is what's happening here. We're missing some data here, right here. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. You see how you kind of got, it misses this whole CME on this left side. See how it jumps 4 hours right there? Almost 5 hours. That's why. Here's that CME. We had a blast on this side of the sun that I showed you guys. Okay, watch over here. Well, you probably can't see it very well on that one. I think we can see it pretty good on this one. Yeah, so watch right here. See that? Okay. So that happened over there. Now that's on the backside. NASA's CME tracker is actually showing that one. I remember that now. Hold on, I'll show it to you right here. See that CME right there? NASA updated and is showing us this CME. Now, this CME right here can actually be the reason our protons are increasing. Because that eruption, where did I have it at? That eruption right there could have crossed our magnetic connection line to the sun. See how we kind of get drawn in right here? This is our magnetic connection line to the sun. So if this was wide enough and that crossed over our line, it'll grab those protons. So that could be why we're seeing an uptick in the proton flux. Okay? It's not a big deal one way or the other. It would be very low level anyway. So, yeah. But we still pay attention to it because it can go straight up at any time, depending on what's going on. I was able to show you guys an S3 earlier this month, I think. Was it this month or back in September? It stayed in an S3 for multiple days. It was, yeah, that was the biggest radiation storm I've ever been able to show you. But as you guys can see, guys, look, check this out. We're still in R1 radio blackout level. It looks like this is going to end up being about a 6 to 9 hour flare too. And that's barring any more eruptions. If this thing erupts again, let's back that off and rerun it. It'll update all the images here for us. Yeah, we're missing a lot. Okay, now we got all the images now. Okay, so I'll grab it here. Right there. Boom. Wow. I mean, that thing is just a beast. That's a beast, guys. It really is. Now, look up here, guys. This one's going to be turning in, too. So, this is not the end of the game here. I'll just tell you that. And chances are, when this thing starts to get about right here, if it starts flaring again, we're definitely going to be having some CMEs come our way. So, But that's all I got for you guys. I am going to go ahead and end it, guys. I know it's kind of, yeah, it's a weird time for me to be even streaming. But I am going to go ahead and end it. Please share this one out, guys. Come back and give this one a view. Because I do think I'm going to have problems getting the views on this one just because of when I went live. Also, later on tonight, guys, please come back. Axe is going to be on live with me later on tonight. Okay? From Axe and Nacho. I want you guys to get to know him because he's a really cool dude. And, you know, they deserve some attention. And I'm going to try to help him a little bit with that. And not only he adds a lot to it anyway. His positivity and Nacho's also, his wife, is just off the chain. It's good stuff, guys. Okay? So, anyway, please come back. It'll be around 9 or 10 o'clock tonight, Eastern. And get over and check out Hilly. He'll be doing a Bible study today, I believe. He does it on Saturdays typically. You check him out. He's in here. But everybody else, yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome, Justy. Good to see you. I'm glad you were able to get here. So, yeah. But yeah, guys, it is kind of, I'm trying my best. I hope you guys can see I'm trying really hard to grow the channel. I am trying to stay more focused and everything. We'll be doing a members only live stream again this weekend too. So that'll make 2 for this week. We had a blast. Anybody that's a member that doesn't go back and watch the previous members only stream, you're missing out. I'm telling you. That was some of the most crazy chiropractic stuff I've ever seen in my life. And I got more crazy stuff to show you. And so when you come over to the members only, we still will talk about space weather when we need to. But we use it to laugh and get to know each other. And it's such a release for me and a lot of other people. It's just such a great thing. So thank you to all the people that are members. Thank you for all the people that gift memberships. It is so appreciated. And it helps more than I could ever say. My wife always tells me, tell them thanks. You know. This is her ball game. I'm telling you. All the stuff I'm talking to you guys on, she bought. So just understand that. But at the same time, and she helps me with everything on this channel. So just so you know. But when I go live, I'm pretty much just talking. So anyway, we're a team. She's my best friend. So all right, guys. God bless. Yahusha saves, and as always, get back here tonight. Go check out Hilly and his Bible study. Come back, say hi to Axe and Nacho later on tonight. Adam and Dex over on Marfugal. Trinity, she's been doing some really cool stuff. Jammer, I'll check out your, Jammer's making me some business cards to pass out. Hey, Kathy, good to see you, girl. Aloha. Silver Fox, baby. That's right. Alberta, Canada, baby. Heck yeah. That's where Axe is from. Well, he's not from Alberta, but he's from Canada. So yeah, guys. Hey, Helix. See you, bud. Kim Possible, I'm glad you were here. Stephen A. Sergeant Bun Bun. In Nigeria, good to see you. I said hi to you earlier. Hey, Cheryl, good to see you. I love that. I love that eggplant. That's awesome. Anyway, God bless. Yahusha saves, and as always, you can drink this Kool-Aid.